and welcome to the Boys in the Bus podcast. This is your bus home following Celtic defeating Dundee by 2-1 in the Scottish Cup. Just noticed before I went live there that I hadn't even updated the score. I'm having an absolute disaster here. I'm on my own, first of all, which is never the best thing. And also, my laptop battery has decided that it is no longer functional. So I currently have got 42 minutes left of my battery, and then we're gone. So I'm going to have to condense this, which is fine, absolutely fine. Don't know where to start this. Obviously, I'll just try and start it where we're at. Wow, what an outcome! For much of tonight's game, I was expecting to be on here on my own with 100 or 200 Celtic supporters watching and 9,800 Rangers supporters all firing abuse at me. That's not the case because we got the job done. We scored with 3 seconds left to play in normal time. We took the lead right at the start of extra time, and somehow this Celtic team, led by Martin O'Neill, managed to get us into the next round of the Scottish Cup. Absolutely unreal. It's we said so many times, you're going to come on here and do a pod and like just moments and seconds change the whole outcome, the whole way the podcast is going to play out. Like I say, we're sitting here now with coming towards 100 people being on. If we'd lost that game, which we were a couple of seconds away from doing, there'd be 10,000 people on here. The vast majority of them having a laugh, having a good time, having a laugh at my expense, the expense of the Celtic fans, the guys that watch us all the time, making a mockery of us. And it was very close, but it didn't happen. And thank you very much to those who made sure that it didn't happen. Not quite sure how it didn't happen, but we're there. We've got it done. We're in the next round. All that good stuff. Give us a like, give us a share. If you are new to the channel and you're looking, as I say, if you're looking for really good post-match analysis, tactical analysis, all that jazz, go and watch somebody else because you won't get that. If you're happy enough to listen to somebody with a few beers talking pish who doesn't know an awful lot about the game, then this is the show for you. I had to move it out a few times, obviously, because the game ran on and I didn't want to clash with any of the guys that are come on post-match and know what they're talking about. So thank you very much. We've got 70 live. I'd imagine that'll go up through the course of the show. As I say, I'm on my own, so very much would appreciate interaction with you guys. That will make it a much better show. Some of the early comments, let's see who we've got. We've got Teresa, happy days. I mean, only think, well, the high boot on Tierney. See, to be honest, the first thing I thought, Teresa, and I think we're both on the same page here, the first one I thought about was Yang at Tynecastle. My goodness, like they're the exact same thing. And in fact, this one was worse. But you know what you're up against. Do you know what I mean? It was so close to the Yang one at Tynecastle. And for me, the Yang one at Tynecastle was never a red card, simply because you just knew there was no force in it. I thought there was more force in tonight's one, but you knew it wasn't going to happen. I think we're on the same page with that one. Nord Celts comes in. God bless Junior Adamu. Yes, if my battery holds out, I just want to run through the new recruits and see what we think of them. What a start for that guy, by the way. And it just makes such a difference. Like you come in and you score a goal like that. What a finish it was, by the way. What a really cute finish that was. And for all you know that could set this guy up. His confidence will be through the roof. He'll be in cloud nine, and that could make a difference for us in the rest of the season. Let's see who else we've got. North Celts again. I was talking about how to approach this podcast. Approach the way we did the 10 minutes of that 120 match with intensity, as Fozzie would say. Who else have we got? We've got Gavi Boy, who's gone back to the challenge. Yeah, we've had players sent off. Yang, that's the one we're all on about. the one that ended Kieran Tierney's game. We're almost up to the 100 there. Obviously, dry January is over. I've got a pint of Guinness here. Once I finish that, I'm going on the VODs. If we hit 100 in the live chat, I'll bring out the Grey Goose, because I think it warrants that, to be honest. Just let me get a guzzle here. I keep forgetting all this stuff about the old share, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. That's just a freebie. That just gets us out there, helps us with the algorithm. If you hit the notification, it gives you a wee reminder every time we go live. You might not want to listen to me, but you might want to listen to the likes of Conor on his shows, or Phil and Liam on Friday night, or any of that stuff. Hit the notification. You'll just get a wee message every time we go live, and you can decide whether you want to join or not. All that other stuff about these things, I know nothing about Spotify and all that. All I have to do is learn a few lines and recite them, but I just can't get it at all. Like, see, when Phil's talking about Spotify and all these other platforms, I don't understand what's going on. So I'm probably not doing it enough justice, Phil. If you make me up a wee script, mate, I'll add it in here as a note or something, and I'll read it verbatim, because I just can't get my head around all these modern day social media platforms. But loads of people in the chat, thank you very, very much. Anyone that joins afterwards or joins when all the big boys are finished, you are more than welcome. Celtic have beaten Dundee by 2-1. No idea how we got it done. I just put it down to Martin O'Neill, the Midas touch. He's just got something about him that other people don't have. It was a very, very forgettable game, really forgettable. I mean, my sort of agenda for the show is the intro. Try to remind myself to do all that stuff about the likes and shares and all that kind of stuff. That's probably the most stressful bit, because I just can't get my head around it. All I have to do is read 3 lines and I can't do it. Then you do the lineup, criticize the life out of that, look for key moments in the game. Very few tonight. Look for key players. That usually takes about 10 or 15 seconds. And then during the window, we were looking at what was going on. Then we go on the board. Then we look at the next few fixtures. And then, end of the show, or my battery runs out, or whatever's going to happen tonight. What's the battery saying now? 39 minutes. Okay, happy days. I'll need to get on to Amazon and get something sorted there. Yeah, Douglas Rust. I made a mental note that is he not the guy? Is he not the lino that was the Doogie screaming like mad for Simunovic to get sent off or something? Anyway, we could sit and talk for hours on referees and all that kind of jazz. Let's try and keep a bit of structure to it. Okay, so summary: absolutely delighted we're in the next round. In terms of bigger picture, I think there was enough there that shows how limited this squad is. But in a Scottish Cup game, all you have to do is get through to the next round. It doesn't matter how it happened. This doesn't have a bearing in the league, other than I think if we get knocked out, it would maybe be a confidence hit on the confidence. You could look at it a different way. If we get knocked out of the Scottish Cup, does that help us in the league because we've got a week off? All that kind of jazz. To me, you watch Celtic, you want to win the game. The games are racking up for us. We're still in the Scottish Cup. We're in the Europa League. We've obviously got the league. I just think just keep the games coming. Do you know what I mean? Just keep them coming. Winning breeds confidence. That result tonight, hopefully, will help us in the league games to come up. Let's have a look at the lineup. I've got all sorts of stuff saved here to have a look at. Let's see. I think this is the lineup. So we've gone with the photo of the new guy, Vuku. Let's have a quick chat about him. Sinsalo comes in, not surprisingly. Martin O'Neill said to us he was gonna rejig it a little bit. So he's gone for Sinsalo. Kasper Schmeichel didn't make the bench, but he has gone for his first choice back four. I think that's simply because the other options just aren't good enough, other than left back, where Sirachi thankfully is back and came on for a little bit, but there's nothing else right. Well, did Donovan could come in at right back. I think it would be harsh to say there's nothing else at right back. Trusty and Scales, I don't think anything we've done in January corrects that issue. Stephen Welsh has gone back to Motherwell. Dane Murray's still there. We cannot be using Dane Murray in this run-in. And the young fella that we've brought in from Brentford, Arthur, for me, that's a surprising one. I think we've replaced a Manchester City up-and-coming kid with a Brentford up-and-coming kid, only this Brentford up-and-coming kid has even less game time. I think he's played two like adult men professional games of football, and we've brought him in. I mean, he might have a lot of potential. He might come in and do a job. I really hope he does. But I really thought we needed to bring in a centre-back who was better than Trusty and Scales, one who just came in and went into the team above both of those quite easily. And we've ended up with a guy that's got 2 adult games in his life. And he may go on to be a really, really good player, but is he an upgrade on Stephen Welsh as option 3 or option 4? Stephen Welsh, who's got 8 years of experience in the SPL and loads and loads of games at this level. Is this lad an upgrade on that? I just don't understand. I don't understand that one. I'll put it up here to remind myself again. McGregor, Hitachi, Bernardo. Bernardo gets another go. I think it's the end of the road for Bernardo. He's had a few chances. I mean, if he can't go in there against Dundee or in the other games that he's had a chance, if he can't go in there and assert some authority, I think time's up for him. Do you know what I mean? Paulo Bernardo's probably going to be that guy that when he's 33, he's still going to be playing for the Portuguese under 21s. Do you know what I mean? He's added nothing in the last 18 months. Hitachi plays. I suppose the obvious one there is Engels right out of the whole squad. I hope that's not because of a negative reaction to not getting that move on deadline day. I really do. There's 104, so the Grey Goose will be coming out shortly. The obvious ones to pick out there were the omissions of Engels and Dyson Maida. I hope there's nothing negative there, as I say, around Engels and Maida. I hope it's just simply a case of those were 2 guys that needed completely rested. Kasper Schmeichel as well, because Duhan was the sub goalkeeper. Ralston missed out, no big loss. And the only other one was Iheanacho, who was just back, and we had the new guys. So the only one I would have a question mark really about there would be Engels and Maida. And like I say, it might just be a case where Martin said, right, I've got enough here, hopefully, to get the job done. These 2 guys need a rest, and that's what we're going to do. So in terms of the game, not an awful lot in the early exchanges. I thought Svanchara was quite busy early on. I'll touch on the January guys. It feels as if Svanchara, it almost feels as if he's a veteran Celtic player now. We have to remember he's only been in the door about 2 weeks, but he's an upgrade. Obviously, he's an upgrade straight away because we didn't have a centre forward, but he's an upgrade on the options that we had who were trying to play centre forward. I like him. I think he reminds me a bit of Vinegar of Hesselink, with the key difference that he's got pace and he's got movement, and he's one I'm hopeful of. He definitely is one that I'm hopeful of. I didn't think he got an awful lot in terms of service, but I've just seen enough in the games that he's played. I like him. I like his style. I think what I used to say about Kenny was he moved like a centre forward. Svanchara moves like a centre forward, but he's a serious upgrade on Kenny. And I like what I see of him. And I thought he was busy in that first half hour. There was this crazy moment where Dundee hit the post on about 10 minutes where it was just like, did that actually really hit the post? And you're looking at Sinisalo and you're thinking, what's he done there? But the sort of first key moment of the game, the one that people have kind of latched onto is the foul on Svanchara. Inside, outside, on the line of the penalty box. When I seen it happen in real time, I just thought it's a free kick. It's outside the box. But when you see it back, and Michael Stewart was absolutely adamant that he thought it was a penalty kick. And Michael Stewart's got no allegiance to Celtic. He's kind of, for me, he's kind of straight down the line sort of guy. He just calls it as he sees it, and he doesn't have any allegiance to. I suppose he kind of favors maybe. Did Michael Stewart play for Hibs and Hearts? I know he played for Hearts. I think he might have played for both. I could be wrong on that, but I don't mind Michael Stewart. I think he's all right. But let's look at that one, because VAR did something that they rarely do on 2 counts. The VAR decision was made in less than 10 seconds. So you had the announcement in the stadium to say VAR were looking at it, and it was quickly followed, like straight after it, by VAR have made their decision and it's been cleared. It's the quickest VAR check in the history of Scottish football, bar none. And we want quick VAR checks, but it has to be sensible. It has to be you've watched the replay. The replay would have took longer than the amount of time it took for them to make that decision. But then they came out at half-time and they released a statement. And that normally doesn't happen. I think it happened when there was the Celtic Rangers January game where Alistair Johnson, there was an incident involving Alistair Johnson, and they released a statement at half-time. But I think when they go to do that, it's almost like in the VAR room, there's a sense of panic, and we might have got something wrong here. We're going to have to go out and justify ourselves. And I'm paraphrasing here. I wrote down basically what the gist of it was. But what they said was, the offence started outside the box and continued inside the box. In this situation, it's only a penalty if the offence was pulling and not pushing, and in this scenario, it was pushing. Just how do you work through that? How do you make any of that make sense? Pushing and not pulling. How does that justify whether it's a penalty or not? The release of the statement just stinks to me of, we've made an absolute mess of this, and we need to get something out here to cover our backs. Whether you're pulling or whether you're pushing, the actual contact of you putting your hands on an opponent, that doesn't justify anything. It's when the force gets applied, and the hands on Svanchara's back are there outside the box. But for me, the force doesn't get applied until his foot is on the line, and then that's where there's impact. The hands on the back isn't the offence, it's the force that gets applied. And I agree with Michael Stewart. I think it's a penalty kick. I'm a Celtic fan. I'm biased. And do you know what? I wasn't up in arms about it, because it was such a... It was one of those ones where you can kind of see it from both angles. But when you actually sit back after the game and you watch it and you process what you've seen, it's a penalty kick, and we didn't get it. And smell the glove. Dallas Jr., the head of VAR, and Dickinson, assistant VAR. Don't get me started on David Dickinson. I mean, my battery's not going to allow me, but I had David Dickinson in here as a talking point. I mean, I've been talking about this guy for the last 2 years. Whenever I was on the Bhoys bus, and since I moved on to the Boys on the bus with Phil and that, this guy's been the sleeper for me. Everybody's been focused on Dallas and Stephen McLean and these guys with their allegiances. This guy's been the one for me. He's been the one creeping up through the ranks. And I said the other night, it was Stephen McLean and Beaton that were on. Were officiating when Celtic were at Hearts there again. They were in Hearts' match against St Mirren during the week, and I made a point, and obviously Hearts ended up getting a man sent off and lost the game, but I made a point in our group chat that when you've got the same people officiating the same team on a regular basis. Even if there's no allegiance, you end up with familiarity. And if they know they're going to be back there in a couple of weeks again, unconsciously or consciously, there's bias involved. That's why I'm not a referee. If I was a referee, I'd be giving Celtic every decision going. It's obvious. But see this guy Dickinson, he has just been creeping up through the ranks. So I think, I might be wrong on this, but I'm just going with what I've read. I think he's officiated 4 Rangers games in the last 6 or 7 weeks. And he was the guy who didn't give Motherwell the penalty. He's given Rangers 3 penalties. And he's the guy that decided that James Tavernier's challenge on the St Mirren guy, which was absolutely identical to Austin Trusty's challenge on the Hearts guy, didn't warrant anything at all. But don't get me started on David Dickinson. I don't want to go down the route of referees. I really don't. And I don't have enough battery to go down there. But I did want to get stuck into him because he is, for me, he is the epitome of everything that is wrong in Scottish refereeing. Anyway, we've got through to half time. Martin has seen enough of the new signing Mvuku. Let me see if I've got a picture of him. Mvuku. That's him, isn't it? I have to get used to these names here. Junior's the striker. Joel Mvuku. Right. Something's been playing in my mind for the last week. I came on here with Phil last weekend and I called these 2 guys dickheads, and it's been annoying me because they may well be dickheads, but I didn't know at the time they were dickheads. And I was just frustrated. I was completely frustrated with the transfer window. I really don't believe Martin O'Neill's happy with the business being done. He talked about waiting for quality. We needed quality. We didn't need numbers. He talked about you've got an A list and you've got a B list and you don't really want to get down to the F list. I think we ended up at the F list on deadline day. That's where we ended up. And I think my frustration with these 2 guys wasn't at them. It was the fact that that's where Celtic were at, scratching about the bottom of the barrel at the last minute, trying to get guys in. Now, I take it back. They're not dickheads. Michael Nicholson and the guys that were involved in the recruitment, they're the dickheads. These 2 guys have been brought in. They've come in to do a job for Celtic, and I really, really hope they do a good job. I'm not going to judge either of them on one performance. However, I'm just going to judge both of them in one performance based on what we've seen. Just based on what we've seen, I thought Mvuku, based on what we've seen today, he does not look as if he could be any better than any of the wingers that we've got. He may well do. I hope he does. I really do. But I think Martin sent out a signal at halftime, basically saying, see this winger you've brought me in? I've had to ditch him for James Forrest. That's where we're at. I've had to ditch him for James Forrest. I thought as debuts go, I thought the guy was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Epitomised by one ball that he tried to bring out of the sky, and it ended up in one of the many empty seats, probably in row ZZ or something close to that. I really hope he turns it around. But I think when you're in that deadline day scenario, scratching about at the bottom of the barrel, it's a mixed bag. But anyway, Martin's seen enough at halftime. He's brought on Forrest. He's brought on Reegan for Bernardo. For me, and I've seen it in the chat, I think Bernardo's Celtic career's over. Whatever promise and hope we had for him, it's not going to work. There is my battery telling me I've got 18 minutes left. So let's get on with it. Dundee took the lead early in the second half. Wonderful strike. First moment of quality in the game. It was a counter-attack with plenty of bodies back, but we weren't able to stop the guy getting the shot away. No blame on the goalkeeper. No goalkeeper in the world is going to save that. There's absolutely no way anyone's keeping that out. Great strike. There's not an awful lot happening. I mean, you're watching the game and you're thinking, come on, Celtic, when are you going to spring to life here? And it just doesn't happen. I mean, he brings on McCann for Yang. He brings on Taneki for Hatate. we end up 10 minutes to go. You're bringing on Junior Adamu for Svanchara. You've kind of played your cards at that time. You've then got that moment with the kick on Tierney's face. For me, it's a red. For me, I just don't understand. I don't understand, having watched the Yang red at Tynecastle, I just don't understand how there's not a proper review and that's a red. It's a kick straight into Kieran Tierney's face. I just don't understand. And then, as I'm just about to try and get my crash helmet on and everything to deal with all the Rangers fans coming on to give us abuse, then we score in the 96th minute of 95 minutes. Obviously, the 5-minute board went up when there was already a minute gone. The commentator made a point of saying it was 3 seconds. Tanetke down the left, trying to make things happen. It was quite funny. I was having a debate with good friend Steve-O from the Celtic World Order. Excellent podcast. Check it out if you haven't already. We have an on-off debate about Tanetke. I get that he's not everyone's cup of tea. I get that he doesn't have consistency. I just like the fact that he gets the ball and he runs at people. And that's what he does in this moment. He runs at people. He makes things happen. And he creates a chance for Adamu. And what a finish. What an excellent finish for a guy on your debut. I've just tore strips off Mvugu. But this guy, this is the dream debut where you've come on with 10 minutes to go and you've absolutely saved the game. Somehow or other, we've got it through the extra time. And in extra time, within a minute, 2 minutes, we're ahead, and it's Tanetke again, and he's got the job done. He's done what we needed to do a lot more, is not just threaten to do something, but actually do it, get the job done. And he's come in from the left-hand side and he scored. And there wasn't an awful lot after that until the last sort of dying seconds where Liam Scales clears one off the line. And that's pretty much it in terms of the match analysis. It wasn't a great performance. Very, very poor. Probably quite close to some of the poorest Martin O'Neill performances. The one against Dundee when he thought he was finished the last time. The away one to St Mirren when we got the Callum McGregor wonder strike at the end. It's one of those games. But Martin O'Neill said, I've made a note of some of his comments. He said he was drained. But the important one for me is, we found a way to win the game. And that is so, so key. When you've got a team of players who probably aren't as good, there's no probably, they're not as good as we want them to be. They found a way to get it done. And that's what Celtic did today. And we're going to have to do that so many times between now and the end of the season. We're going to have so many challenges. We just have to find a way to get it done. And Martin O'Neill is a manager who can help make that happen. Wilfred Nancy was someone that would never happen. His team would never ever find a way to get the job done. That wasn't a quality that he had. So I'm really, really conscious. Apologies, I'm really conscious about this battery dying on me here. It says I've got 16. I don't know. That'll probably speed up. I want to get this Guinness finished and get a VOD going here, but I don't have anybody to bounce off. Who's that jumping in there? Phil? Battery's getting close to dying. I can join you in case it conks out for the last 10 minutes. Let's see if Phil wants to come in. You there? Try and bring him in. There he is.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Well, Phil, I don't know what's happening to this battery here. Honestly, it's going to shut itself. I think I've got 15 minutes. It might be all right here, but thank you for coming in. Phil, I've kind of covered the game off there.
Yep.
You were at the game. You sent me a few messages through. Again, it's something else that I wanted to touch on. That picture probably doesn't do it justice, but you were at the game today. Just give us your summary. Not on the match, because we've done that, but just on the attendance and the atmosphere around the place.
As you probably expect, and I don't know how well it came across on the TV, but yeah, the atmosphere wasn't exactly superb. A lot of empty seats. I would say at a push, high 20,000s, maybe just squeaks into the low 30,000s. But a lot of empty seats. Dundee fans pretty much out singing the fans that were there. A few moments where some wee pockets of fans tried to get some kind of atmosphere going, but never really took off. Didn't help as well that the performance was a bit subpar up until the 95th minute. And yeah, after that, I'd say the noise for when the goal went in, though, it really did pick up in that case. And also when the second goal went in early in extra time, there was, funny enough, there was a few fans that were leaving midway through just before we scored the equaliser, who quickly about turned and came back to their seats.
Well, do me a favour. Can you send me the link? Can you send me the link to my email, and I'll join again from my phone. This thing's gonna go here.
Okay, no worries, mate. I'll my ears.
And then you just talk shit for a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay, I can do that. That's no problem. I'll just quickly send you the email, mate. No problem. Terry link. Okay, it should be coming through to him just now. There we go. Right, brilliant. Okay, so as I was saying, the goal obviously went in, the equaliser. A lot of fans quickly did a 180 right back to their seats because they were caught mid movement heading out because it did seem like all hope was lost. And obviously the second goal goes in just early in extra time, but Dundee were broken. I felt at the time when we did equalise that we will go on and win this now because the body language of Dundee's players said everything that needed to be said. Because I clocked them right away as soon as we equalised. They were a whole cluster of the defenders. We're all looking up at the scoreboard and just looking at the clock. The head sort of bowed down. They knew that was it. Their chance was gone. And of course, we go and score only minutes into extra time. Fair play to Sebastian Tenecte as well. He's always getting criticised for his end product, but comes on, gets himself an assist and a goal. Hopefully he can kick on from that. But obviously, I came in there, I obviously caught a wee bit of what Terry was saying about the foul on Tierney. And yeah, I think there's a case for a red card. I think there was two very good cases for a red card on Kieran Tierney, because obviously Simon Murray assaulted him as well. That was an absolutely brutal challenge. I was, but again, I heard a wee bit of what Terry was saying about the VAR tonight. I've seen a picture as well since I've got back from the Vanchara foul in the first half that was a penalty. I wasn't aware that there was a statement issued at half-time. Again, I heard Terry saying that, which, speaks volumes a little bit. I think that sort of tells you they know that they'd messed up on that one. Because a couple of mates that I've got on like WhatsApp on a group chat had said that it looked like a penalty on the TV. But I say I've not seen it in motion yet, but I will take their word for it. And I say in terms of the performance, was it an ugly one? And it's kind of what I expect it to be for the remainder of the season. I don't think we're going to get many shining performances. But we found a way to win today. Because it's the cup. You just have to win by any means. And we managed to pull it out. Guys, just going off what I heard Terry saying just before I jumped on there, because I've only just got into the house about 10 minutes ago. But in terms, I heard him picking up on Mvuka's performance. Yeah, it wasn't exactly a shining debut, but then again, it's just his debut, I suppose. It is early doors, but getting hooked off at half time, it's not exactly the best message, is it, to be honest, with that one. So we'll see what the future holds for him if he can kick on. But yeah, we weren't exactly left too impressed by that one. And obviously James Forrest came on and same frustration. Obviously Forrest is 34 now and he's been with the club for a long time. He isn't as fast as what he used to be, so we can't be relying on James Forrest at this stage. But he did his best he could at that point, but he was having much luck there. In terms of, here's Terry coming back now. Here he is.
Well, we're absolutely improvising here.
So you're actually on your phone now, by the looks of it.
I'm on my phone, but it's only got 6% battery too. Listen, we're okay. We've got it plugged in. Let me just see if I can get it stabilized here because I need to pour a vodka. I can't hold. That's me sorted now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine, mate. Aye, no problem.
I can get that stabilized here because I need to pour myself a wee vodka. I think that's all sorted. That's me. Oh crap! No, it's falling there. Hold on, 2 seconds. Just you keep going. I'll get this sorted.
I see the problem is because I came in halfway through, you talking about the game. I don't know what points you've really covered off, so I'm just kind of.
I covered off the Dundee goal and the 2 Celtic goals and the Kieran Tierney kick in the face.
Well, I did mention the Simon Murray attack on him as well. That foul on him when he went to cross it, sort of midway through the second half, mate. That had a case for being a red card as well, surely. That Kieran Tierney was in the wars today. He really was. You get battered and bruised all over the place. And I have seen already some folk of a certain persuasion on social media already moaning about how Celtic's goal came in the 96th minute. It was maybe 5-minute stoppage time, completely ignoring the fact that when the 5-minute stoppage time came up, Kieran Tierney was down getting treatment because of a outright assault on him, so it's like completely ignoring the facts again.
No, we covered that, Phil. They said 5 minutes. There was already a minute gone whenever the 5 minutes was announced.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if that was, well, we've covered this as well, David Dickinson's account. Here, you wouldn't get this in Axon, by the way, boys. Batteries running out and having to come on mobiles and trying to get off the fog. And
getting that body open, mate.
Phil, I missed it there, obviously. So just before my battery died, I asked you about the crowd and stuff, and I know you've covered that off for the guys that are on live. What do you think? 30,000 tops?
I would say a push maybe into the low 30,000s, maybe, but definitely in the sort of mid to high 20,000s. And it wasn't exactly spectacular until we scored the equaliser. Then it was pretty good for like the first 5 minutes of extra time, because obviously another goal comes in quick succession. And then the game just kind of flatlined again. Dundee fans made the most noise. I expect they were quite up for it. But yeah, at the end of the day, the atmosphere doesn't win you games. It's what happens on the park. And now we're through to the next round. It was ugly, but we got there. That's all we needed to do, mate, because goal difference doesn't matter. And obviously we'd all love a great performance to go out there and just do a team 4-5-0. But in a cup, hey, you just need to get through, and they did it. They managed to do it because we obviously were staring down the barrel there of elimination. But no, that's it. We're in the next round, so bring it on.
Serious innovation going on here, Phil.
I see that.
Yeah, we're getting all the important stuff sorted out here. Now, goal difference obviously doesn't matter in this. It does matter in the league. We obviously had a scenario during the week. I can't be arsed getting into it, to be honest now, but we had a scenario during the week where one of our rivals was able to rack up a 4-goal victory in very, very, very dubious circumstances, which I've already covered. I've just mentioned Dickinson. He's somebody I've had on my radar for the last few years. Whenever we were on Bhoys bus, I did chat about Dickinson. He was just asleep, and he was one that was under the radar, but he is the staunchest of staunch. But I don't want to. I want to enjoy the fact that we got the result today without going down and through all that kind of crap. I obviously don't have access to the other links and stuff that I had. I was gonna talk about a few things. Let me just.
Well, I've got
2 seconds. 2 seconds to get my agenda.
Okay, no worries, mate. That's no problem. I'm assuming he must be talking about the pictures that he's got saved here on the.
I have loads of stuff saved, Phil. But I'm gonna have to get a battery order tonight. There was a few things I wanted to cover off just the window as a sort of job lot. My view in the window. I know you've been on with Liam. I know yourself and David were off on Monday night or on a Monday night. I went to bed. I just did my normal thing on Monday night. I knew from early doors on Monday this was just going to be another shit show like the summer one. Even though the guys came out and said, we've learned our lessons, we know this window was terrible, we've learned, we'll make it right. They just done the same thing again. It's an absolute shit show. You're scraping around the barrel, and that's why you get players who you haven't got a clue if they're going to be able to come in and make any kind of impact. I went through him Vuku for a shortcut before you come on, to be honest, just based on what I was saying. 45 minutes of absolute dog shit. I apologised for calling him a dickhead last week. He wasn't the dickhead. Michael Nicholson was the dickhead that fucking signed him.
He was the up too much in Vuka. He really was.
No, he wasn't, Phil, and he got loads of the ball, which is the thing. He got loads of opportunities to do stuff. And do you know what? He might do a Nicholas Kuhn, and in 6 months he might come onto a game. We don't need players that are going to come onto a game in 6 months. We needed to go into this window and get guys who were ready to come in and make a difference from day one. And he ain't one of them. He just isn't. Now, the other side of the coin is, I have to look here and say, well, what's the guy? Adame. Is it Adame? All these names.
Yep.
The difference is he comes on and he doesn't do an awful lot, but he scores the goal that keeps them in the cup, and all of a sudden his stock's high, and you're thinking, well, things have worked out all right for him. He might go on to have a good he might impact things in the rest of the season. But the whole view of this window was, we went into this window in a crisis, and in a crisis, extreme situations call for extreme measures, and we did not conduct extreme measures. We just went through the same pish of fucking about, low balling for good players, arsing about on the last day. The transfer window should not come to the last day for Celtic. You should have all your ducks in a row. Now, I know there's a change in the management, I know all that stuff, but transfer deadline day should not be a thing for us. We shouldn't be there scratching about, because what we needed to do going into January was, we needed four is my key number. 4 first team upgrades. Guys who come in and are better than what we've got. One of them, a centre back who's better than Trustier Scales. We end up with a guy that's only played 2 adult games of football, who I argue is not a better bet than Stephen Welsh, who's been playing adult games of football for 8 years. He might turn out to be a better player, but right now, at this point in time, is he a better option than Stephen Welsh? No, he's not. He's played 2 adult games of football. Goodness gracious. And so centre back, we needed somebody that was better than Trustier Scales. We haven't got that. Trusty and Scales, that's it to the end of the season. If one of them gets injured, we're fucked. We're fucked, as far as I'm concerned. If Dave Murray's number 3, we're fucked. We needed a right winger who was better than the ones that we had. I think we've now got 7 or 8 wingers at the club, all right-footed. This guy ain't better than any of them, and what I've seen in the first 45. Imagine if we brought in somebody like Mikey Johnson. Now, Mikey Johnson, if you go down and you look at the English Championship and you look for the most goal involvements, Mikey Johnson's at the top of that. Can you imagine if we went and signed somebody from the Championship who had the most assists in the first half of the season? You'd be over the moon. But if you heard it was Mikey Johnson, you'd be going, don't be bringing him back. But you brought in a guy whose first touch tonight went into Row ZZ seat 35, which was empty. Obviously, now I'm being totally critical. It's his debut. He might be brilliant, but the point's still the same. We didn't need players who need time to settle. We didn't need players who need 5 or 6 weeks to bed themselves in. We needed players to come in and be better than the ones that we had, and I just don't think we've done it. Other than Svanchara, and I made the point before you come on, he's an upgrade because we didn't have anybody. So he's onto a winner straight away because we didn't have a centre forward. But I actually like him. I likened him to Vinegar of Hesselink with pace, and I think he's a good one. Araujo looks really, really good defensively. I'd like to see a wee bit more going forward. I'd like to see goal involvement, but he looks like a solid one. But the deadline day stuff, the business done on deadline day, was very, very haphazard. There was no signs of improvement from Michael Nicholson and the powers that be. For me, that January window over the whole piece was just the same as the summer window and the ones before that. What's your thoughts?
can't really disagree with much of that, to be honest. But it is par for the course. Sadly, it was quite ironic that transfer deadline day this year fell on Groundhog Day, because it is the same cycle repeating itself again and again and again. We've all been here. We've all lived this particular scenario again. So, yeah, it did play that way. Another position I think that we also omitted, and I don't know if you'd picked up on this when you were talking about the game, but in the middle of the park, because Hatate today was absolutely abysmal. And we've talked about Hatate enough times about this is not the real Hatate that was playing under Ange Postecoglou a few years back that a lot of people are still very misty-eyed about. There was rumours, when me and Liam were on last night, one of the viewers kept saying there's talk of a team in Brazil, Palmeiras, apparently are in for him because Brazilian transfer window is still open. As far as I'm concerned, he could go any day and it wouldn't make a difference to us because he was dreadful today and the middle of the park. But again, we can't let people go because we haven't done the due diligence. That's why we couldn't let Arnie Engels go. Despite getting offered obscene amounts of money for Arnie Engels, we couldn't let him go. So Hatate, it was awful today. So that's another area of the park where had we done our job correctly during the January window and strengthened in the middle, then we could have allowed for things like that because I thought Hatate. Bernardo did not do anything again today. That's another one that fans, me included, have spent a good year or so calling out for. Give him more game time, give him more chances. Every time it feels like Bernardo gets a chance, he's an invisible man.
He's done. He's done, Phil. Yeah. He's done.
Yeah. Definitely.
See the Engels bid. My view on this is the model that has served us so well, which I keep repeating. He should have been gone for 25 million. He should have been gone. That was a gift horse, but because we hadn't done our work early enough or at all, we weren't ready for that. There's nobody will tell me that bid for Arnie Engels just came about on the last day. Celtic will have known that there was potential for that bid coming in, and if we had everything sorted out in advance, we could have scooped that 25 million. And I think that would have been a good deal for us. Based on what I've seen of a guy we brought in for somewhere between 11 and 13 to double your money within a year and a half, given what we've seen for him, that is the model. That is the model. That's what should happen. But in true current Celtic fashion, we messed that up as well because that bid coming in, we should have been able to take that. But we couldn't take it because we're down to the absolute bare bones. But not to dwell on that, I wanted to touch on a couple of other things. I wanted to touch on the signing of the Ox. Which,
you've got a picture here very conveniently. There he is.
Yeah, bring that up. Yeah, I had a few bits and pieces saved there. Bring that up. It's one of those ones, Phil, right? See if we wind this back and it's not the same. It's not the same as Rangers bringing in Aaron Ramsey on loan because we've actually signed this guy. He's committed to us on a proper contract. Just take the high ground. Just to take the high ground. Now there's still an awful lot. There's still an awful lot of room for risk on this. This isn't Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain who bossed the midfield in the Premiership for Liverpool or for Arsenal, but you've got to trust the manager on this one.
Yeah.
I listened to the Ox interview with Jerry McCullough, which you take with a pinch of salt, obviously. But what you're looking for in that interview, you're not looking for the ability isn't in question because the ability speaks for itself. This is a guy that's won EPL, he's won Champions League, he's played for England. All that pedigree's fine. And Martin O'Neill has made a point of this. It's about the hunger. And if Martin O'Neill spoke to him, and I imagine that's several conversations, not just one. If he spoke to him, and he, again, when you think back to the comments he made about we need quality, we don't need numbers. If he's made a call on it, you've got to imagine this guy is chomping at the bit for this. He's up for it. Yeah. I don't play down the Joe Hart rule. in this, because I said this a few times before. The way Joe Hart speaks about his time at Celtic and his passion for the club, I did say loads of times, if this could just translate into us signing some one player down the line, then that's amazing for us. And I think there's obviously been a part in this where Joe Hart has had an influence. Oxlade-Chamberlain also mentioned about Andy Robertson being his best mate, and I do not rule out the possibility that Andy Robertson could be at Celtic next season as well. I think there's a few things lining up that could be possible, and I don't care that a lot of the left back budget has been spent on Kieran Tierney. I'm not bothered about that. We get a chance to sign Andy Robertson. He wants to come in, and he's prepared to make that happen. Then we take the two of them, and if we're playing 60 matches a season, they job share. I don't care what salary they're on. They job share at 30 each. I still think that could happen. But in terms of the Ox, it's very, very difficult for me not to get excited about it. And that's maybe a measure of how poor the window was. Like, if the window was successful and brilliant, and after it closes, you bring in a guy who hasn't played for 6 months, albeit he's got a great history behind him, you probably go, oh, well, we'll see what he does. But I think the window's been so shambolic and shite that we're now all in on the Ox, and we're wanting this to be the guy that comes in and gets the job done for us, and that's where I'm at. I'm going to embrace it for what it is. I'm going to embrace it. Let's get this guy in. Let's get him match fit. Let's get him into this team. Let's get this league championship over the line. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, the thing with Oxlade-Chamberlain, I said I Liam last night, was Martin O'Neill's got me excited about it, because he seems genuinely excited about it. When at the start of the week the name came up, there was a sort of, this does seem a bit scraping the barrel. A guy who's not played properly for 6 months. Granted, Jesse's trained for Arsenal trained with Arsenal for the last 6 months and kept himself fit, but not obviously match fitness. But as the week progressed, and Martin O'Neill didn't even hide it. Normally, as I said to Liam last night, managers are very coy when it comes to a player link. They'll always be like, they'll keep it quiet, they'll talk in riddles and whatnot. But Martin O'Neill was very open about, oh yeah, I've spoke to him and he seems really up for it. And because he seemed excited, it's got me excited. And I see the value in Oxlade-Chamberlain with what he's achieved in his career. And there's been plenty of comparisons drawn to Aaron Moy and whatnot. These guys that came in at that age, and he's actually younger than Callum McGregor, has been pointed out as well. So I don't think
this guy's a better player than Moy was. Like, both in their pump.
Yeah, definitely. And he did get unveiled tonight at the stadium, which was an interesting move from the club.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit disappointing from his perspective.
Yeah,
coming out in front of half empty.
The club pulled a few magic tricks, though. What they did was, when they brought him out, they had the lights dimmed with the disco lights flashing, so it didn't show you, so it wasn't fully all lit up, so you couldn't see all of the empty seats. And they also didn't interview him. Like, the guy who does the PA usually will have a wee word with the new signing, get a wee comment from him. Didn't speak to him at all. It was just like he was on, he was off. I don't know if they didn't want to interview him just in case fans disrupted by chanting "sack the board" or something like that. So I guess they just got him on, had him wave to the crowd, and he took a few pictures for the press there, and then off he went. But yeah, they were pulling a few sleight of hand there, a few wee magic tricks with the lights dimmed down and the disco lights flashing, like the strobe lighting, to kind of disguise the emptiness of the stadium at that point in time. But yeah, hopefully he can get some minutes though against Livingston, then come into the squad.
It'd be interesting to see, Phil. I mean, if it takes him 2 months to get up to speed, it's no good to us. I go back to the previous. We need guys to come in and hit the ground running here. So whilst I'm excited by it, whilst you love the club going out, and I mean, this is similar. It's not the exact same, but it's similar. It's similar to the likes of Bellamy and Robbie Keane. Not on the same level, because those guys were playing every week and were in their pump. It's probably, if I'm being genuine and honest and true to myself, it's probably closer to the likes of Lundberg or something. But I don't want it to be Lundberg. I don't want it to be that. I want it to be closer to the other two who come in and make a difference. Albeit not in successful Celtic seasons, but individually, both of those players come in and done well. So I'm up for this one. I'm all in. I'm all in on the Ox. Let's just hope he makes a difference, gets us the title, and signs for another season. I want to touch on one other one that's kind of gone onto the radar, Phil. It sneaked up on me a little bit because this guy was mentioned in the January window. I've got a picture in the chat there. I don't know if you can flick it up or not. I also had my notes where
is this Javier Schlager, the Red Bull Leipzig?
Oh, you've made a real good effort on that. Yes, that's the boy. That's the one. So this was somebody in January that was kind of floated as somebody that was out with our reach. Juventus were in pole position to get it done, and as soon as you see another team like Juventus, you just don't look at the stories anymore. And I just assumed he'd signed for Juventus, but it turns out that he didn't. He's still at Leipzig.
Yep.
He is an Austrian international.
He is, yeah, he's Austrian, right?
He has played, drunken memory, something like 16 games for Leipzig this season and scored 2 goals, something just like that, roughly. But he's had a checkered injury history in the last few years. So he feels like a player that would normally be out with our reach, but because of the injuries and stuff, he maybe is somebody that the bigger clubs haven't decided to take a chance on him. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to sign him, but the fact we'd offered him a contract for that to get out in the open, probably feels as if we feel as if we've got a chance there. And it's not going to make a difference for this season because we obviously can't bring him in now. But it maybe just points a wee bit to a summer ahead of real change and I'm taking the positives from this. You know, we're setting ourselves up. It feels as if we're setting ourselves up for a massive summer, no matter what. Now, it's very difficult to try and imagine what that looks like because we had the excuses rolled out before the January window. Oh, well, we can't commit to certain long-term signings in case the manager who comes in next doesn't want them. And then my argument against that always was, because there's loads of managers out there that don't want to come in and inherit a squad of good footballers. Now, if you fill the squad full of shite and the new guy comes in and he's got no money to spend because you spunked it all in January on absolute duds, that's a different story. But we didn't spend any money in January. We didn't even spend a pound. We didn't even spend £1 in January. And you can stick loan fees and all that. I get all that. It's just nicer. It's nicer to make the point that we didn't actually commit to a pound of your British sterling. We didn't even commit to anything like that. But we seem to have offered this guy a deal on the basis that he's a good enough player that no matter who the manager is next season, he'll be good enough. And then that goes back to my point. Well, we needed 4 of him in this January, who the new manager, no matter who he was, would go, oh my God, I'm glad he's in the squad because he's a good player. Harsh about face, but if you're looking for positives, it sounds as if at least we're taking a look towards next season.
I think so as well. The interesting thing that stood out for me when this story was doing the rounds is you've offered the guy a pre-contract deal to sign in the summer. We don't have a manager decided yet unless Celtic know something that they're not telling us now. Because how can you sell it to the player? Because he's going to probably want to know who am I going to be playing under. You know, you've got to imagine that that's going to be part of the process.
Do you think that still applies, Phil, though? Do you think that still applies? I'm not sure in the modern day that is a big deal anymore. And I'll use one example close to home. And I'm sorry to cut across you. Kieran Bhoys signed for Verona. Yes. Let's just say it was on the Friday. The manager gets sacked on the Saturday. Does that change Kieran Bhoys' outlook in any way, shape or form? Managers are they're just a commodity. They're just somebody that's there. Yeah. I think in this day and age, if you sign for a club, you're not. I'm going to contradict myself here, right?
You're not really you're just signing for a club. You're not signing for the manager. The manager can go, as the Kieran Bailey example goes, your manager can go within 24 hours. However, if I wind myself on to the Oxlade-Chamberlain, does he sign if Martin O'Neill's not at Celtic? No, he probably doesn't. But I don't think the manager is the absolute key anymore, because managers come, managers go, players come, players come, players go, all that kind of stuff. And at most football clubs, and Celtic are the same, the only common thing is the supporters. But do you think if we're looking at this guy, I'm just gonna go there,
Schlager, yes.
he probably doesn't know who Martin O'Neill is. And he probably doesn't care if Martin O'Neill's the manager next season or not. Is that not fair?
It is. I mean, the Kieran Bowie one that you're talking about there, I think the example is different from this, because this guy is going to be, if he was to sign, if he was to agree, because now he's free to agree with anybody because he's in the last 6 months of his contract. This is for something 6 months in the future. It's different if a player signs and then within a matter of days, a manager gets sacked. But this, I just feel like when this scenario, this player's going to probably want to know, like, who's going to be playing under or what the grand plan is. So again, if it's not the manager,
what's the plan?
You're leaving it to Michael Nicholson and these clowns on the board to sell the club to this guy.
This is a guy with loads of options, Phil. This guy's well regarded, like.
Yeah. So I'd say maybe the club knows something that we don't know. Maybe they've already got a manager lined up. Again, who knows? Who knows right now? It's all quiet because they don't come out and tell us anything. That interview last week was purely done from Brian Wilson. Just because
Brian Wilson
stuff. Yeah, I mean, that was only.
Phil, to be fair to him, he has engaged more in one interview than Michael Nicholson has in 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah. Michael Nicholson's a mute at the best of times. He did say a lot of the right things. But again, saying and doing is two separate things in the world of Celtic. So we'll need to see what comes in the next weeks. He says that they've reached out to different fan groups, and I think the Green Brigade says something about the club should prioritise speaking with the collective stuff. So we'll see if anything comes out in the next weeks. But going by tonight for being in attendance, God, it needs to get sorted because it was flat. Other than a wee 5-minute spell at the end of the 90 and the start of extra time, it was pretty drab, as you can imagine. So we need it. It's a weapon. Celtic Park can be a weapon for us because of the noise it can generate, and we're in a hell of a title fight right now. I've said it to David this week. I've said it to Liam. I'm going to repeat it again. Despite all the absolute carnage that's happened this season, somehow we are still in with a chance of winning a double. It is mental to fight that we've got no right to be in this fight with what's happened to us this season, but we're still there, and we need to take advantage of that. We need to have every weapon on our side, and the noise in the stadium is a huge weapon for Celtic. And right now, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So there has to be a resolve in this. There has to be. So hopefully, what Brian Wilson said in that interview through the week actually plays out, and we can get unity and we can get a resolution. But we'll just need to wait and see. We need to wait and see what happens.
Well, I don't like correcting you because you're the boss and you're the one that pays my wages. You're the one that pays my wages, even though there is no wages. But we're not going for a double. We're going for a treble.
Oh, well, the Europa League, yes. Martin O'Neill's got an unfinished business in the Europa League. Yes, he does.
Yes, we certainly do. And we've got a game. I wanted the other draw. I wanted Ferenc Barros. Don't get me wrong. I think that was a game where if I had to have a punt on it, I'd have gone for us to beat them. I think we're second favourites against Stuttgart. I think we're probably a 1 in 3 chance probably to beat Stuttgart. But in this crazy season in Scottish football, and you've got Martin O'Neill doing his Back to the Future sequel. Imagine you beat Stuttgart, and imagine you then play Porto after that, because I think I might be wrong on this, but I think the whole thing is sort of pre-drawn a wee bit.
If we
get through, we play Porto or Braga.
Yep, correct. Do you know
And
who else
both
is
of
also
those-
in the knockout stages? You know what other team is in the knockouts? Celta Vigo are in the knockout stages as well. I don't know if we can cross that.
Oh,
But just imagine for
where's
a
this
second.
going? Where's this going, Phil? We're going to win this.
Porto, Celta Vigo, Boa Vista and Liverpool aren't there, sadly, or Blackburn Rovers. But yeah, that's quite interesting. Celta, Stuttgart, and Porto, and Martin O'Neill's back in the Celtic dugout, and Sean Maloney, who played against Stuttgart and scored against them, is also in the Celtic dugout. So yeah, it's a funny old game at times.
Phil, just let's focus on Sean Maloney a little tiny second, because I'll go back to the Ox, right?
Yep.
And Oxlade-Chamberlain's interview with Jerry McCulloch, he mentioned Sean Maloney quite a few times, and I picked up on that very, very quickly. He mentioned Martin once, but he mentioned Sean 2, 3, 4 times. And one thing that I picked up on, he said, I spoke to Sean, and Sean said to me he was going to really, really push me. Why is the interim assistant manager getting mentioned so many times in your introductory video with Jerry McCulloch? Why are you picking Sean out so many times? And why are you focusing on the fact that Sean said he's going to push you? You're a guy who's won an EPL. You're a guy that's played for England multiple times. You're a guy that's won Champions League, whatever else. You've mentioned Sean Maloney so many times in this interview. I picked up on that now.
Yeah.
It might just be by the by, but he mentioned Sean so much more than he mentioned Martin. And I know you've been the guy that said there you think Sean Maloney's going to be the next manager, and I'm not actually that bothered. If that turns out to be the case and he's the best candidate, then fine. Now, do you believe that we will get the best candidate? No, you absolutely don't. But I just thought it was telling when I watched that video. It was 8 or 9 minutes, but he mentioned Sean Maloney so many times. He mentioned Maloney more than Martin O'Neill. And he said, Sean's told me he's going to push me so hard. I think it would be remiss of us to play down Sean Maloney's part in, I'm not even going to call it a resurgence, because it's not. It's an absolute crisis where everybody's pulled together and trying to get salvage the best outcome out of an absolute shit show. But Sean Maloney has gone way up in Celtic supporters' estimates, to the point where if he had been named as a successor to Brendan Rodgers, they'd have been out the front. Everybody, everybody would have been out the front going Tonto. But now there's probably an acceptance that Sean Maloney might provide an element of calm and actual ability in the role to be someone that is seriously part of Celtic's future, and I'm kind of in that camp. Like you're going back to the games we've seen, the game against Rangers where you had the just before extra time, you had that team talk. Martin wasn't in the middle of that. Martin was he was a bystander. Maloney was the guy sorting that out, and then you've got the Ox talking about Maloney's influence on him signing. I think Sean Maloney's had a massive influence on what's going on at Celtic in the last 6 to 12 months. And you look at that visual where there's him sitting beside what do you call that dickhead? What's his name?
Which one? Take your pick.
No, the dickhead, the doctor.
Oh yeah, exactly. Paul
Tisdale.
Yeah, he was one.
Tisdale.
Yeah.
So Maloney sitting beside Tisdale. Tisdale he's a dead duck. He's about to get shot. Maloney's sitting beside him. He knows Tisdale's gone the next day.
Yep.
And Maloney's sitting beside him. Maloney's played a massive part in this, Phil. And no matter what you think about how he got there, jobs for the boys, or whatever else, I think if we get through this in any way, shape, or form that ends up in Celtic winning the league this season, hopefully a double, on a whim, a treble with the European one thrown. I think Sean Maloney's played an awful big part in this. And I want him to be part of the future.
I've said plenty of times I've got no problem being part of the coaching staff. By all means, he seems to be pretty popular. I think in regards to the Oxlade-Chamberlain stuff and picking up on mentioning Maloney, I think it's a case of Maloney does take the training. I don't think Martin O'Neill really takes much to do with training. Stands on the
He can't be ours. He can't be ours for that shit. Like, he's got too much going on.
When Martin O'Neill was manager first time around, that is a story that he didn't really take to do with the training. He left it to John Robertson and Walford. They all done it. But I think it's still
Martin came in for the last 5 minutes before the match, did the team talk and fucked off. That's all he done. That was enough.
I think it's Sean Maloney that's picking the tactics and setting the team out, and it's just up to Martin O'Neill to just come in and just G them up and make them feel 10 feet tall and put an arm around a player and, make them believe in themselves. So I think right now what we're watching with our eyes is pretty much Sean Maloney's tactics. I don't think Martin O'Neill's admitted with the stuff he does on TalkSport. He has no interest in sports analytics, sports science, XG. He doesn't understand any of that. He doesn't bother with the whole modern. He's just there to G up the players, and it's Maloney and Fozzie. That team are the ones that are setting the team out. Now, again, going back to what I said earlier on. Intensity. No coasting here. The Schlager deal, when I said, does Celtic know something we don't? They're offering contracts allegedly to players 6 months down the line when we don't have a manager in place. But maybe we do. So that's not what I've wanted. I've said it enough times on here. That's all I want Celtic to do. But at the same time, I can't rule it out. And I know some people said in the chat, whenever this comes up, that Sean Maloney himself has said he doesn't want the job. I don't know. I still think if the club's sitting down and sell it to him, he could do it.
I don't care, Phil. See if it brings good results. I don't care. I really, really don't. There's a name, Phil. Yeah. There's a name that's been really, really prominent in the last couple of weeks, and I'm one of them guys where I'm really guilty. I'm just sitting on Celtic News now, refreshing constantly, hoping for something. But there's a name that's really, really been prominent in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and the timeline makes sense. And no Celtic fan wants to hear this. Steve Clark.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. Yeah, no Celtic fan wants to hear that.
Why not? Why not? Why do you not want somebody that has made the absolute best of a Scotland squad that hasn't done anything before he came in?
Because Scotland are a team that are not expected to win every game. Celtic are. That's the difference. I think Stevie Clark.
But Scotland are playing in a different environment. This is a different environment. Scotland are playing against teams that are better than them. Celtic are playing against teams.
Scotland are not expected to win these games. Scotland are always can sit with 10 men behind the ball and hit on the counter. And it just so happens right now they've also got a player who is in unbelievable form in McTominay. Right, they've got a focal point.
I thought you were going to say Ralston.
Oh, of course, Tony Ralston. I mean, come on. But yeah. Stevie Clark works really well for Scotland. He did well at Kilmarnock because, again, a team that can sit 10 men behind the ball, soak up pressure, hit on the counter. I think with Celtic, it would not work well. I think of when David Moyes had to go to Manchester United. David Moyes works well with teams that can sit back, like he did well with West Ham. He's doing well with Everton right now. Teams that can soak up pressure, hit on the counter. They might have one or two top talents, but mostly they're a team that aren't expected to win every week. As I say, with David Moyes with Man U, suddenly it's like you've got to win every week, and that's one of the reasons why that failed. I think with Stevie Clark, that's why it wouldn't work with Celtic, because he's got to adapt to basically dominating the game. 90% of games we play, we are dominating the ball against teams like Dundee, against teams like Dundee United, St Mirren, and I think he'd be more suited for a team that's to sit back. But I think Stevie Clark himself as well. It's also, Terry's ran. He's not liked my suggestion of it, Steve. That on his battery's died, because he did say when he came back that the battery on the phone was also very low. So it's one of the. I'll give him a couple of minutes. We'll see if he comes back. But yeah, I can see already in the chat the suggestion of Stevie Clark has got a lot of people in fear right now. Oh, here he comes. He's coming back now. There he is. There he is.
Sorry, Phil. Do you know what happened there? My brother's been messaging. He sent me about 200 WhatsApp messages. Will you give me a call out on the show, right? So Frank Robb is watching the show. He is my brother, and he loves Celtic, so he wants a shout out. So that's him. Frankie Rob, thank you,
yes,
Frankie.
thanks, Rob. Thank you.
You caused me to go off the show there.
Sorry, man. I thought your battery died because you did say when you came back on that your battery was.
No, I'm sorted now. I've the mobiles and the battery. I'm going to have to go on. I'm going to have to get the wife to go on the Amazon here and get. See my laptop. It's about 40 years old, so I'm going to have to go on here. I'm going to have to get her to do it because I don't have a clue with that. She'll have to get. She'll have to go on Amazon here and try and get me a Prime delivery to make sure I'm on for Livingston during the week because I don't want to miss that.
Yeah, that's right. That's coming through. But this is Taylor Clark. I say I'm not too keen on it. The name that I've seen came up in the chat as well, and it's one I think we should keep an eye on. Is he ready for the jump yet? But I think Askew, the Motherwell manager, is one to keep an eye on. Is he ready for that jump yet? I don't know, but he's got Motherwell playing the best football in the country. They are great. 100%. They're great to watch. They absolutely obliterated us. We played them a couple of, and even we beat them at Celtic Park back in September. Which seems ages ago now, when Brendan Rodgers was still the manager. They were bloody good that day. They were excellent. So it's like, keep an eye on that one.
I know, but think back, Bill. Tony Mowbray done that at Hibs, and then you bring him in. Yeah. It doesn't happen. There's a couple of things I think about the manager job. Right, there's two schools of thought. There's three actually. There's three. So if you remember, before. Fucking hell, I don't even know where I'm at. Before Martin, before Wilfred, before all that kind of stuff, I was joining dots and I was getting Martinez. And in the gambling industry, there's been a massive change where Martinez come in from 25-1 to almost dead cert, even money favorite, and that's happened quite recently. But Martinez's contract with the Portuguese national team ends after the World Cup.
Yeah.
And people are joining the dots where Sean Maloney worked with Martinez and Thierry Henry for a couple of years. That's fine. That's one avenue of inquiry. Mm. Then there's another one where it's completely someone that's brand new, but might be the old list where there's Knutson and all those kind of guys on.
Yeah.
And then there's one more, which is slightly more obvious to me, where you just go Martin O'Neill for another season and you let him build upon it. However, there's a moral decision in there because Martin O'Neill is a guy who should be 10 years into his retirement. Mm-hmm. He's made enough money in football. He doesn't need to do. He doesn't need the stress. He doesn't need the added stress of Michael Nicholson, Chris Mackay, and Dermot Desmond, and all those absolute dickheads. He doesn't need any of that. There was a couple of comments, and it was Big Conor that made a comment about a statue for Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill has gone over and beyond the Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. There should be a statue up that way getting built right now, and it doesn't matter how this season finishes. This guy has come in and done more than anyone else in the history of the football club to try and make things right in the most difficult of situations. It doesn't matter if he wins the league. It doesn't matter if he wins the cup. It doesn't matter if he gains revenge for Seville and beats fucking whoever's in the Europa League. This man has come out of retirement. He's sitting every day in London with his wife, living the life of a guy that's had a brilliant career, just having the most beautiful retirement with your loved one. And he's come out of that to try and help us out, not once, but
twice.
Fucking twice. And it might even be 3 times if we go again next season. He doesn't deserve a statue. He deserves an absolute gold statue. Yeah. And he deserves a stadium being renamed after him and everything. And that doesn't even come with success. Like, fucking hell. All I can think about is when I get to retirement age and I cut off, I'm going to cut off from civilization completely. Like, I struggle with social media now, but when I get to retirement, I'm cutting off everything. No work, no social media, no nothing. I'm just cutting off. This is me for my glory days based on what I've done
I'm just going to see it out with 5 or 6 pints of Guinness every single day. Come home and go for a wee sleep. Bet a couple of horses. Give the wife. I wouldn't even give her a kiss. I'll give her a wee pat on the head, and I'll just say, "I love you, darling." And that's it. That's it. That's what retirement looks like for me. But we've pulled this guy 10 years out of retirement to throw him into an absolute shit show, and he is doing everything he can. Mm-hmm. He's living every day for Celtic. He's working on about 4 hours sleep. Fuck a statue. This should be an absolute gold statue, and it doesn't matter what happens after that. This is over and beyond the Call of Duty, and this reflects badly on Michael Nicholson, Dermot Desmond, and all those other guys who are all young guys who are meant to be innovative creators of the future and great brains and great minds. They're relying on an old man who should have been retired 10 years ago. They are relying on him to pull them out of the fire, and it's totally wrong.
It is indeed. But with Martin O'Neill, there's just something magic about the guy, despite how doolally he can come across at times and how distant he can seem from the modern game. He's also doing something right. And what you said there about another year, I wouldn't even rule that out right now. Right now at this stage.
No, I think that's a favourite, Phil. I think that's the most likely outcome is he does another year.
It could be, by the way. I don't say no to it. It's we're in a position where if we get to summer, we're offering contracts allegedly to players right now. So there has to be something where the club are selling it to any players that we're approaching just now. So you've got to imagine that there could be something in the works there. So I don't rule it out happening. And if it does, if that's the best option, if he does get this over the line and wins this league, maybe even wins a double or whatever, my God, yeah, he does deserve everything. Everything, because he has twice stepped in to bail these idiots out that are running this club. You know, he's had to step in and show them how it's done. So he deserves all the...
So the second one's massive. The second one is massive. After coming in and resurrecting it first time, and he closed that gap in Hearts to the point where we could have buried this league if we had beat Hearts at home. And then you go back to him again. Like that's an awful big imposition to put on somebody who should be enjoying the twilight of his life with his wife. And he's come back again. It's absolutely massive. Massive.
As by the way, just on a side note, comment just going from Dylan Hound. This is my favourite comment. What about a statue for Terry? There you go, Terry. This is a statue of you, mate. Outside Celtic Park. A few comments. I'll see you're a proper.
Get it up there. Get the bottle and the glass. Get everything in there. Get the statue up.
Yep. You got Doug Steen standing with the European Cup. You've got the Billy McNeil one with the European Cup handing you a bottle of vodka. Oh, yeah, man. It's got to be done. It has to be done.
Well, see anybody that gets a wee bit of enjoyment out of me and you and all the guys on our podcast. If anybody gets one wee tiny bit of enjoyment in their life, it makes the whole thing worthwhile. Do you know what I mean? We're in an era where YouTubers and all this stuff is fashionable. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not an influencer. I'm just somebody that messaged Russell Bhoys one night, pished, and said, if you want to bring me on, I'll come on one night and talk. And then the night Russell brought me on, in true Boise Bus style, we come on about 3 hours after we were meant to be on because it was all kind of technical. Just like that tonight.
Yeah.
But we're not... None of us guys on this podcast, we're not trying to make a career out of this. We're not trying to make money out of this. I'm sure you probably have made about £1.50 since you took this whole fucking thing on. But
yeah,
I do this because I met you through Russell and I like you and you're a good guy and you love Celtic. And I do this just because I like you and I want to help you out. But all the guys that come on this podcast for us, and I'm not going to name them all, they're all there. Everybody that comes on, we're just doing this because we've ended up in a wee group
we're all Celtic fans and we all want the best for Celtic, and that's kind of why we're here. And we're not into making money out of this or anything. We just want to create a community where people can talk honestly and open about Celtic. If you come on drunk, like I do 95% of the time, you're accepted and your views accepted and everything else. But we just want to be honest Celtic supporters talking about Celtic, and I think that's where we're at tonight. You know, we've covered so many things about Martin O'Neill. We've talked about how shite the match was. We've talked about how shite the new signing was in the right wing. We've talked about how the new signing in the middle has got off to a wonderful start. We've talked about how Spanchara is a veteran, even though he's only been in 2 weeks. Araujo, how about talking about him? You know, how do you not try and make a play for him? At the end of the thing, you've talked about Tierney, you've talked about Sriracha, you've talked about Andy Robertson. We just come on here and we talk about what's going on, and that's where we're at. But Phil, just to try and bring it round to a close, Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'm excited about this. The Schlager for the summer, I'm excited about that. Is there a way Michael Nicholson gets through this and keeps his job? For me, that's the pendulum that the whole thing swings on. If we look at the fans collective, the 3 demands: Nicholson out, Green Brigade back in, fan media back in. To me, 2 and 3 is a lot easier than 1.
Yeah.
I think 2 and 3 will happen before 1. I think the Green Brigade will be back in, and that's a huge influence in this season. You cannot underestimate the impact of a vocal home support in this championship race. I think that has to be number 1. That should be number 1, not Nicholson out. Nicholson out's number 1 in that list. Number 1 should be Green Brigade back in. Whether you believe in all of what they stand for or not, in terms of winning this league, that's number 1. Get the vocal support back in for me. And I don't believe in everything they stand for. I don't really get involved in them conversations about all that stuff. For me, it's just like, I'm too old. I just want to focus on what happened on the pitch. But I think what happens on the pitch does depend on what happens in the stands. And for that reason, I want the Green Brigade back in. For me, that's number 1 priority. Green Brigade back in. Nicholson then moves down to number 2. The third one was the fan media. For me and for us on this podcast, it doesn't mean anything because we never had any access.
Oh, we don't have
and
access.
If we did get offered access, and I won't speak for you, but I think you would probably take it and you would probably delegate that to one of the young lads in our podcast who are looking out for work and trying to get involved in journalism and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the move you would make. You can confirm or deny that. If you ever turned around to me and said, you can turn up, if you turn around to me and says, Terry, we've got a pass for the interview with Martin O'Neill on whatever date, can you make it? Out of 3 or 4 flights booked, out of 2 boats booked, and I come over just to ask that question. Hiya, Martin. How you doing? I'm from Northern Ireland. Are you okay? I would do that. I booked 3 days just to sort of. But if we ever got offered it, I think you would take it and you would give it to one of the guys in our forum who are trying to make a career for themselves, and I think that would be totally fair. But if you ever offered it to me, I would take it. I'd book a week off. And
You'd beat it before you finish the question. I'd
book a whole week off and I'd come over and just go, hiya, Martin, are you feeling okay? I'd do that, right? But I think that one is way down the order. I think getting the Green Brigade back is number 1. And I think then number 2 becomes what the other number 1 was.
Well, in terms of that, try sum it up. I think Nicholson Well,
he's not going. He's not going before the end of the season, Phil.
I was going to say, I think he'll be gone, but at the end of the season, I think at the end of the season, he'll
Yeah, I think he'll go. I think he'll go. But that ain't happening tonight. It ain't happening tomorrow.
No.
It ain't happening before we have to try and win this league.
Yeah, no, definitely that. I could see upheaval in the boardroom at the end of the season. I think once this season's out the way, however it ends, Jesus, try to think about that just now. It's just mental. But anyway, I think he will be gone. I think he won't be the only casualty in the board. I can see upheaval happening in some capacity. Now, unfortunately, I do feel that they'll just be replaced by mini-me versions of them. But yeah, I think.
Phil, can I ask you a question? And I know you won't know the answer to this, but see the way we hold Nicholson responsible for all of these failed transfer dealings. Is it normal for the CEO to be involved in transfer dealings, or are we unfairly putting these at the desk of Michael Nicholson?
After Tisdale left, then I guess it fell to him, because for a short period there we had, for a long period, it was Lawwell was the CEO, and he was directly involved in transfer negotiations, which has contributed to his legacy and reputation, and a lot of the things that we talk about, the tropes that Celtic show, are all down to Peter Lawwell during his time negotiating. Then obviously he disappears, Don Mackay becomes the CEO, and he was very involved. But then of course
for 2 months.
And away he goes, and Michael Nicholson becomes the CEO. But then we decided to try something new with having a sporting director, director of football, doctor of football, whatever he is, Paul Tisdale. But he then goes, and then it falls back to Michael Nicholson again. And I think ideally they would want a sporting director or whatever position that is to be doing this part. Because it's no longer a case of the manager does all that. The manager job is so cut up these days. You do this, you do specifically that. These guys will do that. One of the biggest problems is, Terry, there's too many charlatans and too many clowns in football in general who aren't good enough to be a manager, but they want to be the manager. They want to sign all the players, but don't want to stand in front of the press or stand on the sidelines and take the abuse when it's not going well. They want to just sit in an office and, we'll sign all the players. And it's like,
Phil,
guys
Michael Nicholson's getting the blame for all these failed transfers. Is that the job of the CEO? Is it?
Well, it was for the longest. Actually, it was for the longest time when we had Lawwell doing it. That was his job. I don't think it should be. It should be a footballing.
He was perfect. He just wanted to do everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I think ideally it shouldn't be, but that's something that we're going to have to rejig in the summer if they do it. If they actually do, I mean, surely to God. I know I say this, I sound naive saying it. Surely to God, they must look at the current model. I don't care what Desmond's statement said.
The model that served us so well.
The model right now does not look like it's going to work. It needs a massive restructure, and that's why I think Nicholson will step down. And but it'll be in the summer, and we'll see what that does for us. But I do fear that it is going to be another clone of him that will just take over. But if we can get like a sporting director, an actual somebody a bit of credibility, not a Paul Tisdale who definitely fits that mould of being a total charlatan that has chanced his way through life in the world of football and got himself into a position where he's not good enough to be the manager, but he can happily sit in an office and sign the players, even though they were dreadful, absolutely dreadful, and then makes the call on Wilfred Nancy, which could be the thing that costs us this season. But right now, I said earlier on, we're still just hanging in there. We're still in it, and we need to make sure we take advantage of this chance. But if it doesn't go away, then it's going to be all down to what happened to Wilfred Nancy. That's going to be what we're going to look back on if this doesn't end how we want it to.
I know, Phil, you say that, and yes, I get that. For me, there's 12 points difference that was lost there under Nancy. And if he didn't come in and we just played along with Martin, looking at them fixtures, even just taking average results into play, we'd have been 6 clear by now. We would have been 6 clear, just taking average results. Don't even play in the Martin factor or nothing. Just average results. We'd have been 6 points clear, and you're talking job done. We're not in that place. See a lot you've talked about there about about Nicholson and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very hard because you're still in a position here where we can get this job done. It's very, very pivotal right now. What's happening? Very pivotal, and I know I saved the next 5 fixtures up in the.
Let's have a look. I've looked at them
up in
quickly.
the what do you call it? The media assets.
The media assets on StreamYard.
That
Yes,
thing.
indeed.
So what have you got there? We've got Livingston next, which is hungry. And here's the thing, Phil, and we talked about this in our own pod during the week there, the situation where we lost that game against Aberdeen, and you're obviously up for the match, you're chomping at the bit, you're wanting to get the job done, you're wanting to close the points on Hearts after they dropped points the night before. And it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen correctly because the pitch isn't playable. And you want it to be playable, and your bias jumps in and goes, oh, this is all a conspiracy. The league are trying to stop us getting up, and the whole thing. The pitch wasn't playable. That is it. Game, set, and match. The pitch was not playable. It was called off. Today's match between Aberdeen and Motherwell. Was it Aberdeen and Motherwell? It was Aberdeen. Anyway.
Yeah, Aberdeen were at home, yeah, but it was called. I think it was Motherwell. Aye.
Was it Motherwell?
Aye, it was because they did draw each other in the cup. You're right.
That game was called off. So yep. Aberdeen's pitch has took an absolute hammering. Now, call me an idiot or not, but Aberdeen has seen 55, 56, 57, 58, 59 days of rain, day after day after day. The pitch is unplayable. As much as I wanted that match to go ahead, as much as I wanted us to close in our Hearts and put the pressure on, as much as I didn't want Rangers to be ahead of us, even though we had games to play, the game was cancelled because the pitch was unplayable. These things happen. It happens. You have to regroup. You have to get on with it. It presents a real problem for us because it gives us 3 away games in 6 days where you've got Stuttgart, Rangers, Aberdeen. But that's what it is. That's how this is played out. That's how the cards have fallen. And you've got to get on with it. You can't sit here and gurn about how you think that might help another team in their journey to win the league. That's how it's happened. That's what we've got to do. But when you watch tonight's game, if we play tonight's game at Pittodrie during the week, we'd lost 2 points at least in the league challenge.
Yeah.
Because we were shite.
I was quite happy to see the game in the midweek. I felt like, it gives us a wee week to just do training with the new guys and just try and get bed in. The next run of fixtures, Dundee, Livingston, Kilmarnock, in terms of domestic games, it's not a bad run. Put the Aberdeen game in the back burner. Had that game gone ahead and what still would have been pretty miserable conditions, some of our players have shown that they've not really got the heart for those types of games. And it's like, maybe it is a good thing that it's on the back burner for now. I know 3 away games in 7 days, whatever it is, but we'll deal with it when we can. I say now get Sirachi back as well. He came back tonight, get some more minutes in the legs. Hopefully guys like Ian Atchell can get a few more games as well over the next few weeks and get these guys back up full fitness because we need a full squad. We need as strong a squad as we can to get through the remainder of the season. So I wasn't too fussed about the game getting called off through the week. It's a bit of an inconvenience, but there was something just bothering me about that game where I was like, I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't be a bad thing for it to be pushed back. And we'll deal with it when it comes in the start of March. I think it's March the 4th it's been scheduled for. So we'll deal with it.
I know. It's a huge week, Phil. It's 3 away. It's 3 tough aways. Rangers, Stuttgart, Aberdeen in 6 days. It's absolutely must.
Anyway, Terry, your picture has stalled completely because you're now like a statue. We talked about you getting a statue on. You now literally are like a statue because it seems to have frozen. So I think that is the techie gremlins telling us, giving us a sign that perhaps it's time to wrap it up because it is an hour and 40 minutes. We're going to go as long as the actual game was tonight at this rate. Me and Terry have got a habit of doing these post-match shows where it was a terribly inspiring game, but we somehow managed to do a show that is as long as the game, and then we're on course to do a 2-hour show. But yeah, I suppose just wrap up. See, this Terry's now disappeared off the screen. I guess we will head off. Yes, so I'll say goodbye on behalf of Terry. Thanks everybody for watching. It's been a marathon session, so I was quite happy to jump on and help Terry out there. But yeah, we'll wrap up the now. Hit the like button, all that good stuff on the way out, folks. And Wednesday, Livingston. Yeah, so there'll be a show obviously Wednesday night. Terry will be back for that one as well. Hopefully no techie gremlins in that case. But yeah, enjoy your night, folks. We'll see who Celtic get tomorrow as well in the Cup for the quarterfinals. I think we're down to now. So the last 8. So yeah, look out for obviously see who we get there. And yeah, a double is still on. Or as Terry said earlier, a treble's still on as well. He's not wrong in that sense. But yeah, we'll head off, folks. Thanks everybody for watching. And yeah, see you on the next one, guys. Cheers.